I've been teaching an intro course for architecture visualization in a university for the past 6 years or so, and also on this YouTube channel for 3 years. And on a technical level, I wouldn't call my renders a high grade, not at all. There's plenty of professionals that do a cleaner job. But there are two things that I do have, at least I think I have. First one is range, meaning that I'm not locked to one style, one subject, or one type of rendering. And the second one being from time to time, I make a render where there's something there, something a bit deeper than sheer representation of the form. And I know what it is, and hopefully by the end of this video you will know as well. And over the past 6 years, I've noticed that my students usually tend to ask the wrong question. They focus on the tools, be it hardware or software, trying to figure out which combination will give them the best results, quote unquote best. But the reality is, as long as your PC meets the minimum requirements, it's good enough to make something wonderful. As long as you're using a fairly modern render engine, it really doesn't matter which one you use. All of them have the capacity to make something excellent. So then, how do you grow as an artist? Well, that's what this video is all about, I guess. I'll try to separate it into clear parts so that it's easier to follow. So I guess we jump to part 1 right now, right? Before you begin rendering, create a story. It doesn't need to be an interesting story. It can be calm without any characters whatsoever. It's not about that. It's about building a world. Your renders will be mere snapshots of this world. So ask yourself questions like, where in the world are we? Are we high up? Are we underneath the water? In space? In a valley? Above a city? What kind of world is it? Is it dark? Is it warm? Is it synthetic? Is it inviting? Is it similar to ours? Is it different from ours? And when is this snapshot being taken? Does it rain? Does it snow? Can you see the sun? How many suns can you see? Does the sunlight cut sharply, or is it soft and hazy? What elements would bring the viewer the most to this reality? Did something happen that left a trace? Was there a fish in the water? Did the rain just stop? Did someone leave the house in a rush? Did the photographer clean up the room to take a picture but forgot about the camera and the reflection? Once you have built up the world in your head, you'll know exactly what you want to do, and all of your efforts will be directed towards the final vision. The more worlds you create, the better you'll become at creating them. Practice your imagination. Okay, so this one is pretty straightforward, but I still feel like I do have to spell it out. If a 3D model lacks geometric detail, it won't matter how good the material is that you add. The render will look worse. And of course, the details in the materials, they matter as well, as they can showcase the wear and tear of the subject, as well as the marks that are left from the manufacturing or any imprints left from the users. And I use these words deliberately: subjects, users, and then so on. A subject can be a space, and the user can be a resident of said space, for example. And the resident can be a mouse or a cockroach, just like a subject can be a robot, and the user can be a cameraman that is taking a mugshot of said robot. I'm talking in much more generalized terms. That's what I'm trying to get across. But okay, back to detailing. What matters more than materials is proper detail level in the base geometry. In a simple example, a window without a frame or a door without a handle immediately takes the viewer out of your world. But frameless windows and automatic doors do exist, so how do you make them convincing? The answer to that is simple. You answer the question of what kind of a building has these kind of doors and these kind of windows. What for? Who's using this building? After answering these questions, you'll know for sure that what kind of other detailing needs to be added to sell the idea of frameless windows and automatic doors. And we're looping back to point 1 here, creating your world. Details fill your world with meaning. They anchor your subject into your world. They create continuity. Spend a lot of time on details, more than you think. Even now, more than that. More. I cannot recommend this enough. Go to a used camera store, either eBay or MPB, and get yourself a cheap digital camera with a removable, interchangeable lens. I'll leave a link to some of my suggestions in the video description below, but there are plenty of good options out there. Basically what you want is one DSLR or mirrorless camera and at least 2 lenses, wide-angle zoom lens and a telephoto lens. If money is an issue, check out this video, link in the video description below, where I show how you can adapt dirt cheap vintage lenses to any camera by using 3D printing. And no, your phone is a bad substitute for this. Now when you have your basic camera set up, you set it to shoot raw images and you set it to be fully manual. This is the fastest way to master balancing light through shutter speed, ISO values, aperture, bokeh, depth of field, white balance, highlight roll-off, and everything else. You take your camera and your 2 lenses with you every single day, and every day you frame at least 1 photo. If you're not leaving the house, the photo can be of a houseplant or something, doesn't matter. This is the fastest way to understand the behavior of different lens lengths and get the feeling of what kind of framing works well with them, right? So different framing for telephoto lenses compared to wide-angle lenses. Only keep the photos that you absolutely love. Then try to replicate the same worlds as were captured by you in your renders, right? To create something visually wonderful, the eye needs to be trained as much as the hand and the brain. When you watch movies, enjoy them, of course, but also be analytical. Movies are worlds that are created by the masters. Do not just appreciate them, learn from them. Everything that I've said up until now can be analyzed in any movie. What is the world that's being painted? How is it painted? What details bring you even further? What are the camera angles that were used? And why? What are the lenses that were used? And why? Actually, one of the exercises that we do in Lund University is that the students during their intro to 3D rendering courses, they first have a choice of a movie that they find aesthetic. They extract a few scenes from that movie and analyze their framing, composition, as well as color or light compositions. Adding to this small exercise on average has greatly improved the visual interest of the final output from the students, which I'm quite happy about. This whole movie analysis point requires a separate video in itself, of course, to cover it properly, so if you'd like to know more, please leave a comment. And I guess you've picked up by now. What I'm trying to say in this video is that you should look at the renders as if they are artworks, rather than a way of how a thing is represented. An artwork has more meaning, has more depth. It has a world in itself that you can encode through various different means. And you also choose through what lens will the viewer see your world. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.